I had to come in and do part 3 before I go home. It's been a long day. And I apologize to you all. I apologize to you all because I was kind of caught up earlier. I was attending a funeral and I just got back, but I wanted to finish my, series. I wanted to finish this because I know it needs to be completed, and there's someone that needs to hear this, right? There is someone that needs to hear and understand, because a lot of this is not being taught to where people understand and where they can understand themselves, and I have some answers. Okay, I have some answers and some knowledge, some spiritual knowledge. So what I was talking about in part 2 before I had to run, we have to take away looking at names and titles. That's mom, that's dad, that's sister, that's my auntie, that's my grandmother. We have to take away the names and start looking at how people are treating you. We don't have any more benefit of the doubts to give. You have to look at how people are treating you. Look at how people are treating you compared to others, and not subject yourself to some of that. Sometimes we subject ourselves to some of the harsh treatments because we don't want to. We have this thought in our mind, because we're not healed, how we want other people to receive us and to perceive us. We want other people to receive us well, and we want them to perceive us in a way that is acceptable, a way that is, acceptable, okay? And we have to get past that, right? Because the only thing that's going to do is cause more frustration and hinder you from operating in your purpose, right? So you really don't have any more benefit of the doubts to give people. You have to take things at face value. You have to, however people are operating, you have to believe that. However they are treating you, you have to believe that. What they're doing to you, believe that. Don't try to, one thing I've noticed, because I've done it, right, as a chosen. One thing I've noticed that, what we do a lot as a chosen one when we're not healed, and before we find out who we are, before we find out who we are, before we understand everything that we're going through, what we tend to do is we tend to repaint people a lot, right? I don't know where we get that from psychologically. I think it's some type of coping mechanism. After experiencing so much abuse, we kind of repaint people. We can see that a person is evil and wicked, and just because they're family, we would make exceptions for them. Oh, that's just auntie, that's just grandmother. And we love to say, abusive people and abusive, toxic, dysfunctional families love to say, oh, that's just how they are. No, that's just not how they are. They can be just how they are over there, right? But we tend to, as a chosen, we tend to repaint people, right? We tend to repaint them. We tend to recreate them in our heads because we're good at that. Oh, chosen ones got imagination out of this world. We got imagination out of this world, okay? And that's a gift because we're so sensitive, and we're so, we're so sensitive, and we could pick up on a lot of things, and we are very creative. Okay, we have imaginary friends, growing up, the ones who have imaginary friends and building forts and all kind of stuff out of different things. We can create some stuff in our head. So what we do, we repaint and recreate people how we want them to be. We create people with hopes and, desires of how we want them to be, what we want in our heads, right? We want to create folks and make them into who we want them to be instead of paying attention to who they are. Wilco, you never stop forgiving, but what I can recommend that once you forgive, don't subject yourself to a situation where you have to keep forgiving. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. And once you keep forgiving, if you have to keep forgiving people, those people, you don't need to subject yourself to them. You don't need to be around them. So you won't have to keep forgiving. Just forgive them and let them go on about their business. because forgiveness is not for them. People, we say that, and it's true. People say that forgiveness is not for them. Forgiveness is for you, because you're going to hold on to that. You're going to be angry and bitter and ruminating on what they've done to you. Oh, what if it's family? That goes for family too. I think you're new to my channel. Yeah, you're new to my channel, because I talk about that all the time. I don't care if it's mom, dad, grandmother, dog, the cat, children, especially the adult children. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Yes, it is. I've learned that. And we have to get out of our heads. I talk about that a lot on this channel. I know you're not, I know you're not a seasoned family member. Yeah, I talk about that a lot. We have to unlearn this stuff. And this is part 3, how you know you're chosen, because you endure a lot, right? You endure a lot from your family. Let me say that. That's another thing. You endure a lot from your family, but then there's going to come a time where you're going to wake up. You're going to wake up. You endure a lot. You sit in silence, right? You sit in silence for a long time. And it's not that you don't want to confront situations. You're hoping that other people see what you see. You're hoping that other people could see what you see in a bloodline that they keep ignoring, right? Because what families tend to do, they know things are happening, they see things are happening, and they tend to ignore it. But then you, the chosen one, you start asking questions. You start speaking up. You start wondering and being inquisitive, and you want to know, and now you become a problem. Because everyone else is ignoring the problems, and they can see the problem, but you want to confront it. You want to deal with it. You want to address it. Because so many families are stuck in generational curses and cycles because they never want to address an issue. And addressing an issue is only bringing it to the light, right? You're bringing it to the light. You're exposing darkness to light. And when you expose darkness to light, you can get past it. You can find your way. It's just like walking down a dark path and someone comes along with a lantern or a light or a flashlight and just shine the light on the path, and now they could, you can see your way through. But as long as people want to hide things, long as they want to ignore things, as long as they want to, what other word? Skim over. As long as they want to skim over things, it'll never come to the light. It'll never be addressed. People want to run and not face situations. And this is how you know, another way to know that you're chosen, because you're willing to face. You're willing to face and deal with and talk about what no one else in the family wants to talk about. You're willing to lose people. You're willing to lose family members. You're willing to be ostracized. You're willing to be talked about, because you were built for that. As a chosen one, there's going to come a time in your life where you're going to be isolated. You're going to be ostracized, and you're going to be exiled from the family. You're going to be exiled. What the show is? What is the show? Ooh, it's funny when you look at it. You're going to be what was the show called? You're out. You're going to be thrown out. Oh, well, I'm sorry about that. I know that's painful. I know that's painful, especially if it's something that they've done to you and they're not willing to address it or acknowledge. See, people don't understand. The only thing they have to do is acknowledge what they've done, right? And they don't want to do that because they don't want to be embarrassed. They don't want to be shamed, and they don't want to Because it's something that needs to be addressed. That's why you question yourself. It's something that needs to be addressed. You can't keep running from issues, right? Like, whether or not they like it or not, it's something that needs to be said. You need to get something off your chest. Whatever it is, you need to get it off your chest. Get it off your chest and be done with it. But you have to prepare yourself for whatever answer that you receive, So that's why, because it's something that's bothering you. You want to address it. You want to want someone to acknowledge. But let me tell you now, sometimes people will never acknowledge what they've done. People will never acknowledge what they've done. You have to be okay with that. You have to ask God to give you the strength just to let go. Because sometimes, sometimes that's why you have to do some research on your history. You have to do a little more digging into your bloodline and your history. Because if you look like me, okay, if you got brown skin like me, mocha chocolate skin, we got a lot of traumas that we haven't dealt with, right? We have a lot of traumas that we haven't dealt with. We have a lot of bloodline curses and things that were passed down, that how our parents operated and how they were brought up, their children are learning in a different way, right? Their children are learning a different way, because we had a lot of growing up, what happens in this house stays in this house. Okay, we had a lot of that business going on, right? We had a lot of do as I do as I say, not as I do growing up. We had a lot of that going on. That's not how that go. Okay, we had a lot of because I'm grown. Right? We had a lot of that because I said so. And that's not how that's supposed to go. But that's how they was raised, right? That's how they were brought up. So either you're going to let that situation, and it is hard. That's why we need God. I'm not going to sit here and say it's easy. God knows some of that stuff is not easy. It is not easy at all. But when you keep seeking after God and asking him to, help you, he'll help you. He'll help you. He will help you. And what he's going to do is change how you see things. Heal the wounds that you have in you. When you ask God for help, he always starts with you. He's not going to start with your parents. I'm just telling you how it is. He's going to have you look in the mirror at yourself. So yep, the only person we need is God. Yep. But it'll be nice, if your kids could see their grandparents, but it all depends on the situation, because I know how hard it is. I'm not the person to judge you, because sometimes people could do so much wickedness, you can't trust them. You don't want to trust them around your kids. Right? You don't want to trust them around your kids. Like, you don't know what they're going to pollute in their minds and what type of spiritual curses or whatever they put on you. When you lose trust in people, but trust your gut. You can't allow your kids to go around certain people, right? And that's just how it is. I don't judge people's situations, because my grandmother always taught me, you never know what you would do if you're not until you're in the shoes of those people. You never know what you're going to do, right? She used to say, never say what you won't do when you haven't experienced that situation. What question? To who? Your parents? But yeah, these, like, when you know you're chosen. Let me get back to my my topic here. When you know you're chosen, you're willing to fight the generation of curses alone. Okay, you're willing to put your life on the line. You're willing to take the spiritual whooping. You're willing to fight the generation of demons that are going to come after you. You're willing to fight the family members that's going to come for you. Okay, they be waiting to come for you for no reason. You're willing to. You probably didn't do anything, Wilco. You probably just have the light. I think you heard my video earlier, where sometimes you just have that light on you. And your parents are just, your parents was just a vessel. Because some parents hate their kids. Y'all got to understand. See, this stuff like this is so hard for us to fathom, because a lot of y'all got good parents. Y'all got loving parents. Some parents hate their kids. Some parents use their kids as tools. They feel like they had their kids to serve them. They got a warped way of thinking. Some people had their kids and give them away. They don't want to do anything with their kids. They just were the vessel. And we can't understand how someone could birth and carry someone for 9 months and don't want anything to do with them. You probably need to be delivered, Wilco. You got to go get some, go talk to a counselor. It's okay to get talk to someone, talk to a therapist. Now that's okay. Yeah, you just need to go talk to someone. It's okay. If you're brown, I know that's the hardest thing to do. Are you a brown person, Wilco? Because we have a lot of pride. We feel like we above therapists, that's another thing. We was raised up. Oh, something wrong with you. You don't need no therapist, And I understand where that comes from, right? It's okay to talk to someone. It's okay. But I operate too. I operate on getting delivered. That's how you need to be delivered. Okay, Wilco, and that's okay. So just go talk to someone, dear. But I just know for my culture, sometimes we be so prideful. It's something is wrong with you if you want to go talk to a therapist type thing, right? It's like shunned in the, African American community. Oh, that's a good thing. All of my family is Caucasian descent. Most of all my family. There's a difference between relatives and family. I have a lot of Caucasian family. I have a lot of Caucasian family who I call family. They're my spiritual family. So I don't see color. That's never been my thing. I've never been into that, mindset, the very first person who favored me was a white woman, my teacher. My second grade teacher. She was the first one that favored me, right? She was the first, and I'm still in contact with her to this day. So I don't see it as that, right? That's when you were able to go and, sleep over with your teachers. I convinced my grandmother to let me go stay with her. You can't do that now. You got too many. See, perversion is too high of a risk right now. So you just got to be careful. But anyways, let me get back on my topic. I said, I talked about how you're willing to fight the family demons. You're willing to be, attacked, and you're willing to go through the struggle that you will go through when you are chosen. You've made up in your mind that you're the one to, oh, that's okay. You're the one. You can always book a coaching session with me, Wilco. I'm a life coach. I'm a life coach, and if you go to my bio, you can book a session. It's okay, And I never say that when I come, because I just be speaking. I love just bringing messages, so I really don't sell myself as a life coach, but I need to start doing that. But I feel these messages will do you just as well, right? But when you realize that you're going to have to be the one to fight, because you're the only one that's strong enough to fight in your generation, until your children or someone pick up the torch. Because you have to remember, you're not the first one. Someone before you, you're out of your mom's siblings or your mom, one of them were called to carry the torch, but they were not strong enough, right? Even their kids, my grandmother's sister, somebody in the family was called to carry the torch and to fight, but they were not strong enough. They didn't want to see. One thing about it, when you could see everything before it happens. You can see all of the people that are going to come for you. You can see all of the fallouts. You can see that you're going to be in isolation. And this is what I believe. I believe they saw all of the pain and hell they had to go through, and they say, no, get somebody else to do it. So then when my generation came up, I've gone through so much, and I've done so much work on myself, that I'm willing to do it. Now I understand that there's going to be sacrifice. I got to sacrifice. I have to die to my flesh to make sure my kids don't have to go through what I've gone through. So I'm a long lashes people who got long lashes, not the false lashes. Ain't nothing wrong with false, but the long lashes that be dropping all off in your eye. I'm going to pray for y'all. Pray for us long eyelash folks. So, they saw that, all the struggle and pain and the people that was going to fall out of their lives and the relationships they were going to have to lose. They saw that and didn't want to do it. And then God raised up another one. It's always going to be one in the generation that raised up in the bloodline to fight. So God raised up another one, and I'm willing to fight. I'm going to fight. And then one of my kids going to have to carry the torch. Somebody going to have to pick up the torch and keep fighting. And then my great grands, and I pray for them too. I pray. I say a lot of prayers for my great grands and grands that I haven't even met yet, because I know and I understand, tearing up saying that, I know and understand that it's going to be a fight. Somebody gonna have to pick up the torch and fight. Right? Somebody gonna have to pick up that torch and fight. And they're going to have the strength. The goal is for when your children come, they don't have to fight the same fight. You don't slay enough spirits and curses to where they can start afresh and finish fighting. Each generation, the curse is supposed to be less and less. Like a lot of things that I've gone through, my children didn't have to go through. Yes, they went through their own stuff. But a lot of the stuff I went through, they didn't have to go through. They didn't have to go through. Right? They didn't have to go through watching their mom battle with drugs and mental illness. They didn't have to go through that. They were able to see their mom well and fighting, and, they didn't have to experience the darkness that, their mom went through, because she was trying to fight and deal and do the work on herself. I grew up watching my mama fight mental illness and fight drug addiction and dealing with the whole mental illness and drug addiction with my mom. My kids never experienced me on drugs, or I never did drugs. They didn't have to experience that. They had a mom who was sound-minded, dealing with other stuff, but sound-minded. They didn't have to go through that. They didn't have to go through that. They didn't have to go through a lot of the things that I went through, because I kind of protected them and sheltered them a little bit. I think a little bit too much, but you only do what you can do. When you've experienced certain things, this is why you can't beat yourself up, because I almost beat myself up because I sheltered my kids during a certain time, because I didn't want them experiencing what I experienced, and I didn't want people to pollute their minds and get into their heads, because I know when a certain person say something to you, that can affect you. That can affect how you see yourself, right? If a grandmother say something to you out of the way, or if a teacher say something to you out of the way. That's why I was always very alert, and I always taught my kids to tell me if someone said anything called words or curses. Words will hurt. They told us sticks and stones may break our bones, but words will never hurt. That's a lie. Some of y'all still thinking about what your mama told you 20, 30 years ago. Some of you all are still thinking about what your grandmother and your teacher and whoever called you stupid and dumb and all these words that's still stuck in your head. I wanted to do damage control when my kids told me if somebody said something to them out of the way. I had to come in and, if a friend or anybody said anything, I wanted to come in and do damage control, to speak life into them, because I know how important words are, right? So I always used to sit down and ask them, did anybody say, did your teacher say this? And did your teacher, because people who we hold high regards, like teachers, your grandmothers, like your grandmothers, like family members who you hold to, high regard. If they say something to you negative and out of the way and malicious and mean, you take that stuff to heart. You take it to heart. And you'll meditate on that thing, and it'll drive you nuts. And I didn't want that for my kids. I didn't want to put them in environments where they always had to be fighting to stay, sane around certain people. I didn't want to do that. So I sheltered them. I kept them happy little kids, and they were able to grow up. I wasn't able to be, in certain parts of my life, I wasn't able to be a teenager. Right? I wasn't able to be a teenager. They were able to experience their teenage years. Not saying their life was perfect, but they didn't have to repeat what I repeated. And that's the goal. You don't want your kids to repeat the same thing. This when you're chosen, you're favored, you're heading down the right track, you're breaking generational curses, because your children are not repeating. They're going to go through their own things, but they're not repeating the cycle. They're not repeating the cycle of alcoholism, the cycle of drug addictions, the cycle of, now we still got some curses we got to break. Hopefully they, break that curse. But they don't have to experience everything that I've experienced. You're willing to fight. Although it's hard, you're willing to fight. When you love your kids, you'll fight for them. And this is a spiritual fight. This is not something, you can see tangibly. This is a spiritual fight. You got to fight this spiritually. That's in prayer, fasting, Deny yourself of things. Deny yourself of things. Yep. Yeah, doing the work. Yes, we do. We want better. And some people try to make you feel guilty for that. They'll try to make you feel guilty because you want better for your children. I used to feel guilty about that too. And then I got to the point was like, you know what? To devil with folks, I can't control how they, I can't control their perception. That's the thing. We can't control people's perception and how they see us, because you can be the nicest, kindest person. But guess what? If they got a warped mindset, and if they're unhealed in their head, they're going to see you. Okay. They're going to see you however they want to see you. You can't control that. You can't control that. Once I learned that, I've been all right since. Once I've learned that I can't control other people's oh, not over here, Detroit. I don't know what you're talking about with that. I agree. Fathers are important in the home. Fathers are important to, life, period. And it takes two, right? I don't sit here and blame. If both mom and dad create that baby, it's both of their responsibilities. Has nothing to do with the mama and the dad. It's both of them. My thing about that is, let me tell you my whole belief system about that. If we did things God's way, we wouldn't have this drama and trauma we got going on now. If we did the things the way God say do it, would you get married first, then you have kids and not fornicating, we wouldn't have this chaos. The wages of sin is death. That's what we're experiencing now. We are experiencing death. I don't care how many gurus, red pill, blue pill, white pill, green pill, they can come up with all their theology and opinions. Until we get back to how God ordered and structured how things supposed to be, the wages of sin is death. And that's what we're experiencing in humanity. We are experiencing a spiritual death because we got too much going on, too much sin going on. That's how to resolve that. That'll keep the government out of everything. Keep your legs closed and things in your pants. Keep your legs closed and your private parts in your pants, and that'll resolve all of that. Do it God's way, we won't have this issue. And that'll be settled. And there won't be no arguments about nothing. Do it God's way. Get rid of that perversion. Stop being perverted. Watching all this nasty TV, nasty movies, having all this nasty mindset. We won't have all this. We won't have it all. So that's how you do that. But back to knowing just carrying a baton, right? Carrying a baton of, being chosen. There are things you're going to see, right? You're going to see that no one else sees because it was meant for you to see it. I think I mentioned that earlier, but I'm going to go a little bit in more detail. You're going to be able to see things spiritually that others can't see. You want them to see it, right? You want them to see it, but they can't see it because it wasn't meant for them. You're chosen because you could see things, okay? See things spiritually, right? Spiritually, right? You can see things spiritually. And you've always had that gift. You always had that gift. I know my mom had it. I know for a fact she had it. But when you don't know and when you don't understand, it could drive you insane. And she dealt with mental illness a lot, but she didn't have anybody spiritual enough, right, to really show her that she was chosen. God gave me this revelation when I was going through my own thing. He said, your mama had this gift. And he showed me that's why she was dealing with this, that, and the other. But when you don't know, and when you can't fight the naysayers around you, when you can't push back on the voices, right? You can't push back on the stares and the voices and people talking about you and people looking down on you, because a lot of the chosen ones, a lot of them lived very, very, like, I won't say debilitating. What is the word? Very, broken lives, A lot of them live very broken lives, like they were drug addicts. They struggled mentally. They were promiscuous. They were like just hard to understand. They dealt with a lot, and they went down a dark path because they've been abused, because they are the light. A lot of them have been abused as children, and it turned them into dark beings. Like, it turned them into operating in that devil's energy, what I call the devil's energy, because they've been abused and they don't understand, like, why did God allow this? They're trying to wrap their head around something right? And it's driving them nuts. And if they don't have the right spiritual people, and if God don't isolate them, that's why God isolates some of you all, so he can do a work in you, so you won't be around religion, you won't be around your family, you won't have all these other voices confusing you, so he can show you why you went through certain things, or why things happen to you, right? Why he allowed things to happen to you, or why things, because sometimes he don't allow everything. Let me just tell you all that. Sometimes he don't allow everything. He don't allow some people. The devil just busy. The devil busy. Because sometimes we want to blame God, and it's not God. It's just people in their devil's energy. It's just people seeing that you're chosen, right? And them operating. Oh, he's going to the garbage. Them operating in their eviler ways, right? And sometimes we don't have an answer to everything. And that'll drive some folks crazy. And I understand that. I understand that so much at a spiritual level. I just wish I could get to people to get them to understand that there's a reason they went through all that. I know it doesn't sound easy. It's not an easy thing to accept. It's not easy. But that's why a lot of the chosen ones are being healed, and people are going to think you all are lying. A lot of people are going to start calling you liars, because once you tell people your story and what you've been through, you're not going to look like it, right? You don't look like what you've gone through, and they're going to think that you're making up a story, because God has restored your youth. He's restored your mind, your body, restored your finances, restored your family. He restored everything that was stolen from you. You're not going to even recognize that you went through all of that. That's how much he's going to restore you. Okay? When you come into that call, realize you're chosen, and be like, I got to go through this. It's not going to once you get that mindset and you just accept the call and start doing the work, everything's going to be restored. First, everything is going to be taken away. Everything is going to be stripped from you. Your house, family, friends, anything that is not solid, okay? Anything that is not solid and is a threat to your purpose is going to be stripped away. You're going to lose that husband that you married. God didn't put that together. You're going to lose that wife that you chose. God didn't tell you to marry that woman. You're going to lose that house that you built on that rocket foundation. Stripped away. Them kids, children that you hold up on a pedestal. If you got them kids up on a pedestal, you idolize your children, they're going to be knocked down. They're going to go to acting crazy. Your family, because some of y'all worship y'all relatives. This is how you know you worship your relatives. Because you know your relatives are doing wrong. They thugging, they drugging, they doing all this craziness. You see them doing wrong and you won't say nothing to them about it. You idolize them. You put them before God. You don't honor God, because if you honor God, you will tell them what they're doing is wrong. You'll call them out on their mess, not in a nasty way, not in a prideful way, not in a way where you think you better because you're not doing what they're doing. You can say, you know what, bruh, sis, you can get your life together. You can do better than that. I see you doing better than that. That's not God's best for you. You can be doing better. Cut that out. Put you some clothes on. When I was struggling with my identity, I didn't know who I was. When I was struggling, I didn't have any guidance. Nobody came and said, you know what, sis, niece, let me pull you to the side. Let me tell you, the road you're going down, it's not going to look good for you. And I wasn't doing anything that was bad. I just was in unfruitful relationships, right? I was in relationships that I shouldn't have been in. But I didn't know. No one came and, I didn't know. I was young and shouldn't have been in no relationship in the first place. Listen, if you're in your teens, you're 18, 19, if you're younger than 25, get to know yourself first. Find out who you are in Christ before you want to lock yourself down in a marriage, in a relationship, dating. Find out who you are first. Find out what your purpose is. Find out who you are. Find out what your purpose is, what God has for you on this earth before you go to tying yourself down with someone. I never got a chance to know who I was. I knew I was something and I knew I was different. Always been tied down and locked down in some relationship. I didn't even know who I was. I thought these things were going to, make me make me. I just didn't know. I didn't have the tools. I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't have the upbringing. Since I was 14, I was a baby. In relationships, emotionally tied and intertwined with people I shouldn't have had no business intertwined with. No one should be in a relationship that young. I don't care. I know it's the norm and it's this over-sexualized world. I just don't agree. These kids are not in a old, they're not mature enough to handle. It's not like when the 40s and 50s and 60s where them people were getting married young. They were mature. They were very mature for their age. Yes, they were babies, but they were able to take care of things. It's a different type of, we're in a different age now. Different century. But God will use everything that you've gone through, right? He'll use that. Don't regret what you've done. I don't regret anything. But if you can help it, get to know yourself. Everybody wants to be in a relationship with somebody. Be in a relationship with yourself. Get to know what you like, what you don't like. Know who you are before you're trying to add someone else to you to make you feel good about yourself. You shouldn't be looking for anyone to validate you. Anyone that comes into your life should be an accessory. They should be an addition. Okay, they should add to your life. And together you guys multiply. I tell my kids, my daughters, because I can't, they're young adults, but you can't tell. You can't tell adults what to do, but my daughters, I tell them, just enjoy your life. Get to know who you are. Get to know who you are. Find out what you like, what you don't like. Enjoy life. I want them to have grandkids, but if they decide not to, that's their choice. But I would desire for them to be married. Be married and bring up a healthy, whole family. That's God's way. A healthy marriage. Knowing who you are. So, I hope I didn't ramble on too much. But I had to come finish this part 3 of This Is How You Know You're Chosen. But I talked about a little bit of everything. So, but just remember, that walking the narrow path is not easy. It's not easy. Like the Bible says, many are called, but few are chosen. There are only going to be a chosen few to walk that narrow path. And you know you're walking the narrow path because you're going to be hated for no reason. If you're not being hated, if you're loved by the world, you're not chosen. I don't care what people say. People, they make it seem like you're going to be liked by everyone. But when you're walking in that true light and you walk in that narrow path, you are going to be hated. Your very essence. You can walk into a room and them demons going to tremble. And they're going to look at you ugly and the faces. And, okay, some of y'all know what I'm talking about. You just walked in the room and them demons manifesting. People got an attitude with you for no reason. You're like, I don't even know you. Oh, they know you. They know you by your spirit. Okay? They know you by your spirit. Spirit recognize spirit. They know you. Just like you recognize them by their spirit, oh, they recognize you by yours. But you all, I gotta go. I was at this park and you see it's getting dark. So I wonder what they got going on in this building. I think I'm gonna go be nosy. They got a Christmas tree over there. Looks like they have some type of event. It's the holidays. And they have all these different Christmas events and things. So I love this time of the year. There's always a lot going on. Are you all invited to any parties, Christmas parties? Are you planning to have any holiday parties if you don't celebrate Christmas holiday parties? No holiday parties? Well, all right, y'all. I'm going to let you all go. I will talk to you all. You all be blessed. Good night. It is dark out here, so I got to get ready to go. Be blessed.